Hello everyone, my name's Graham. I'm from the UK and I work in Switzerland now at a university called ETH Zurich. I'm going to talk today about a project called Erase Install, which you can use to automate the deployment and installation of macOS with a single click in your self-service kiosk or from a single command. It's been around for 2 years now, and to my surprise, it's got a lot of interest, some great additions through pull requests, and has 150 stars in GitHub. The key thing I'd like to bring across today is that the name of this script is a bit deceptive. It doesn't just do erase install. It should be probably called something like this, but it's a bit annoying to type all that. It's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. As well as a one-click erase all contents and settings tool, it's also used for downloading specific OS builds for manual installation, also for one-click in-place upgrades, and for emergency reinstalls. To explain how it works, I'll explain the component parts. It's a wrapper script. The parts are namely StartOS install and install macOS. I'll talk about how it all brings it together, and we'll have a quick look at fetch full installer, which may become more important in the future. So starting with StartOS install. This is a command line binary that's included with macOS installer apps since El Capitan. It allows you to perform macOS installation directly from the command line. There have been improvements to the tool with every macOS release. Most importantly, in Sierra, we became able to use the command unattended, including a still undocumented flag called no interaction. In High Sierra, we got the install package flags, so we could install signed packages alongside macOS. In 10.13.4, we got the erase install flag for the first time. In 10.14, we got the preserve container flag, which allows for the use of erase install without deleting all containers. So you could retain a separate data container, for example. And in 10.15, we got the forced quit apps flag to make restarting the computer during this reinstallation more reliable. Together, these changes have made the StartOS install command increasingly reliable for use from a script. Of course, to use StartOS install, we need to get the installer onto the system in the first place. A good way to do that is with Greg Nagel's install macOS Python script. You can get that from here. It checks Apple's software update catalogs and presents available macOS installers for download. You can specify different seed programs such as the developer or Appleseed programs for obtaining betas. And it optionally places the downloaded updates inside a DMG for use in other tools. This is the output from install macOS. After presenting the available installers, you're prompted to choose one. After choosing, it proceeds to download it. You cannot automate the choice using this script. To be able to run this script from within another script, I had to expand its functionality so that it didn't need that user interaction. To achieve this, I made a fork. I added additional flags such as current, auto, version, OS, and build, allowing us to automate the download of the build we want. And I built in compatibility checks into the script to validate that pre-made choice with the system that it's being run on. Let's look at how erase installs brings install macOS and StartOS install together into one command and the main options you're likely to want to use. If I run erase install with the list option, it downloads and runs the forked install macOS and outputs the list but does not proceed to download anything. This is great for just seeing what's available quickly. It shows you your computer's model, board ID, and current OS build from which it identifies compatible upgrades. On the right, you see which builds would install and wouldn't install on the current system. If you simply want to download a macOS installer and do nothing else, run erase install with no flags. It checks if there's an installer already on the system. If not, it calls install macOS.py to download the latest compatible version of macOS. The installer is compressed and stored as a DMG in this folder. This option is useful where you want to cache the installer ready for a later run of the script with different options to perform a more rapid reinstall. If you use the move flag, this will move the installer app once it's been downloaded to the applications folder or anywhere else you want. This might allow a workflow where the end user can run the installer themselves manually from Finder. If you want to ignore any existing installers on the computer to make sure you have the latest build, use the overwrite option. This will delete anything it finds. This can also be used with the move option. With the reinstall flag, the downloaded installer is used immediately to install over the top of the existing OS without a wipe. Typically, this is used for upgrading macOS, but could also be used as an emergency reinstallation of the same OS. The erase option performs StartOS install with the erase install argument. Therefore, the system is wiped. You can, however, preserve other containers with the preserve container flag. The extras flag looks for packages in a specified folder and will install these packages using the install package option of StartOS install. This works both with the reinstall and erase options. It's useful for installing things on a vanilla system such as Monkey, Puppet, or Ansible agents, Nomad Login, Outset, Jamf Agent, etc. There are many options for specifying which build you want to download. Hopefully these are fairly self-explanatory. All of these can be used together with the move, overwrite, reinstall, and erase options. You can also use this script to specify that you want a beta version, either from the Appleseed or Developer Seed programs. Note that all these options will only work with what is available in the software catalog, which you would see in that list. You don't need to run this script on computers enrolled into Jamf, but if you do, you get some nice user feedback by using by use of the Jamf helper tool. When downloading the installer, a window is shown stating that the download is occurring. And when we get to the install stage, a full screen display takes over, which stays until the computer does the restart. This is the screen here we see that displays when you're running the reinstall option. The erase screen is similar. Here it is in use at the end of our internal Jamf training. So to get hold of and use erase install script, you can simply go to this page, copy paste the script directly into Jamf if you like, and use parameters in Jamf to supply the right options. You can also get it as a zip archive from here or using this auto package recipe. There is a package recipe which will install the script in library management erase install folder so that it's ready for use on a system. And there are also JSS recipes to take advantage of this package version, putting the correct command with arguments into the run processes options of a self-service policy so that you don't have to engineer that yourself. This is what the 3 different policies from the JSS recipes will look like. A quick note about fetch full installer. This was added to the software update command with the release of Catalina. It operates somewhat like install macOS, although with fewer options. By default, it will download the current recommended version for your system. You can specify, however, a particular OS or version to try to download with the full installer version flag. There is no way to show a list of available builds, so whether a request will work is trial and error. added experimental support for this in Erase install. The advantage of this is that we don't need Python on the system to obtain the installer, something that could be useful going forward into macOS 10.16. The lack of feedback from the command, though, means that it is more likely to fail, so it needs to be tested out, and so it remains an option rather than the default. So in conclusion, we've wanted an erase all contents and settings option for a long time, but it actually already exists. There's no need to manually download and package up macOS installers and upload them to your repo. You can if you like, but it's not required. Erase install provides lots of flexibility for easily obtaining specific OS builds, and you can also install signed packages at the same time as reinstalling the system. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.